Now, if you're like me, you may have noticed something over the past few years that whenever you go to see a movie at a big movie theater chain, the movie start time will say 7 o'clock, but the movie doesn't start till damn near 7:30. And you may be wondering, well, why is that, Kino? Well, let me tell you. It's because these funny little things called trailers. Now, trailers are these little snippets of a movie that a movie studio will put in front of other movies to go get you excited to see their movie. Now, you may be wondering, why am I telling you what a trailer is? You know what a trailer is. Well, it's kind of a segue, you see. What's a segue, Kino? Well, I'll explain it to you later. I don't have a lot of time. But the point is that a few months ago, I went to see a movie. And before that movie started playing, the trailer for a movie called Twisters came on. And you know something about that trailer? It wasn't very good. It was all right. It really didn't get me excited for it. I was just kind of like, oh, this looks like a random B movie. I don't really feel like going to see it. But then, you know what happened the next month? I went and saw a different movie, and a new trailer played for the movie called Twisters. And you know something? I got a little excited. You know, it showed this kind of cool little dichotomy of this smart brainiac girl and this tough rebel kind of rodeo cowboy guy, and they worked together to go wrangle a tornado. And I was like, well, that's awesome. It's not just a twister, there are two twisters. Isn't that sweet? Well, I was like, okay, I'm a little sold. It's Glenn Powell. Glenn Powell's everywhere now. He's doing fantastic. Good to Glenn Powell. And so, what did I just do last night? You may be wondering. Well, I'll tell you what it is like last night. I went and I saw Twisters. It was all right. It was okay. And, well, I'm sure you're wondering, well, that was a bit of a big lead up to not much reveal, and, well, you're right. And I'm sorry about that. But if I had to go through a mediocre movie, you get a mediocre review. Welcome to Kino Kino. My name is Kino, and today we're talking about Twisters. So the thing about Twisters, it had a lot of fun, great moments, and it had a lot of just kind of bad, rough moments, and then you end up with an all-right movie, you know, a very mediocre, kind of middle of the road. This is literally the most plain Jane, John Doe kind of movies you've ever seen. But it has a lot of fun, and that's really all that matters. So if you're here for a good, fun time, well, you'll have a fun time. If you're here kind of walking away hoping to feel anything other than just like, man, it would be really cool to be a tornado wrangler, well, you're not going to walk away with any of that, but you will have a good time. Now, let me go ahead and tell you the good, and then the bad, and then exactly where I think it falls in a ranking. Now, first things first, we'll talk about the best part about seeing the movie, especially seeing the movie in IMAX, this little thing here. Look at this. This is a cool little thing. They gave me a magnet to put in my car, which makes you kind of beg the question, like, do these get stolen often? Because it's not like there's any kind of security thing. You just put it on the car and then anyone can just go and peel it off. So I have one on my fridge and I have one that's going to go on the car. We'll see how long that lasts. Anyways, that's the best part about the movie. The not so great part about the movie we'll get to later. Let's go ahead and keep things high. Let's talk about the fun stuff first. So the fun, best part of the Twisters, shockingly, is the Twisters. I mean, who would have thought that a movie called Twisters would have some good Twister moments, which honestly, nowadays, you never know. But honestly, the movie did a really great job showcasing all the Twisters throughout the film. When I first saw the trailers, I thought that it was going to be just kind of like a big twist in the middle and maybe just like the giant twister all the way at the end and then a lot of like story in between. This is the exact opposite. There are non-stop twisters through this thing. I mean, beginning, middle, end, quarter, third quarter, all of it to have twisters. I'm not kidding when I say it's a 2-hour movie. There's at least one twist every 30 minutes. And I was honestly kind of surprised. I feel like there are two ways you could have taken that. And to go all the way with the twisters route, I think paid off to a certain degree, but also left some things to be desired. Now, essentially, the twisters are used very, very well that I really, really liked. The things I really, really liked about them is the fact that each one is setting up in a different tone. You see, so the first one is kind of like the big one where you're getting kind of established and it really sets up not only how dangerous it is, which obviously anybody would think, yeah, a tornado is very dangerous, but it also sets up be really fun. Like, this is something that people really love and they want to experience, and that's just kind of their passion. But at the same time, it's a scary thing to go through, and I think that it does a really great job setting that up. And then, of course, as we're going through, there are more twisters throughout the movie, and each one has its own different tone. The second one's kind of more of the much more fun one, a little less dangerous one. The third one is kind of, it's a little bit of a baby twister. It's just kind of like they go in, they do it really quick, and then they leave. And that was probably the strangest one to me, is that a lot of the other ones are set up as big events. This one was just not really as big. I guess because the more I think about it, the more I kind of justified it as it's a smaller twister for one, and this is kind of like two experts, like two pros at the game, going in, handling something really quick, doing a little test, and then leaving. So I've kind of written that one off as being a good one. I do like that at the end of the day. Then the next one is more so handling just kind of a big moment. This one's gotten really hectic, really crazy, that has caused a lot of chaos that comes out of nowhere as well. Like, this is a surprise one, and I don't want to, I'm not going to lie, the movie is kind of impossible to spoil. If you're going to see this movie after this review, it's because you just want to see Twisters. If you want to see Twisters, you'll love it. Because if you're going for anything other than Twisters, you're going to have a bad time. But if you're going for Twisters, this one's a pretty big one, a very big, impactful one. And then there's the last Twister, and that's the big Twister. That's the largest of them all, which you'll see. Now, that's the best part of the movie. The Twisters, it really sets up to have a lot of great fun in the movie, and honestly, it is. All of the Twisters were a great time. I enjoyed every single one. There wasn't a single one where I was bored or I didn't like it for this, that, or the other. Each one is just a good time, hunted a tornado in different methods with different people. It's great. Now, that's about the only good part about the movie, unfortunately. Now, luckily, it's so much fun that it's worth seeing it. If you can see it for free, then definitely see it. I guess, honestly, if someone told me if I had to pay money to go see the movie, and I didn't get the free magnet, I probably wouldn't go see it. But I have AMC A-List, which is such a great service, not sponsored or anything, but it's just so freaking good. And so I got to see it for free, and so it's like, okay, well, yeah, of course I'd see it for free. But if someone was like, hey, do you want to go see Twisters? And then I was like, do I have to pay? And then they were like, yes. Yeah, I wouldn't see Twisters. But we'll talk about why now. And so if you can see it for free, great. If you can't, well, I don't know, maybe you'll still like it. Especially, I would say, if you have a family. Because honestly, the movie at the end of the day is very much so just kind of a basic run-of-the-mill, like, kids will like it. They'll want to go home and start wrangling some tornadoes, and you'll have to tell them to stop, Timmy, or you'll kick them in the head. But for an adult, then again, it's just a good time to watch some Twisters twirl around and have some fun. But so families are gonna have a good time either way. And now let's talk about the bad, which is pretty much everything that doesn't have to do with the tornado, I'm afraid. It's so unfortunate because I really like the bone structure of the film. I mean, it had a really nice classic structure of brain meeting brawn, working together to solve a problem. It's classic, right? And I really like the characters of this wild kind of country tornado wranglers that drive around these crazy souped up trucks to really go and have fun. And that's really cool, but unfortunately the structure just isn't enough to make the movie special because the meat they gave it is non-existent, very bare bones. You see, the story goes that this girl was studying on how to defeat tornadoes, how to stop them dead in their tracks to save lives. And she had her friends that were all tornado wranglers. They worked together to try and get these tornadoes, take them down, and it was a great thing until it wasn't, where they go and tried it out, and then it didn't work, and the whole crew disbanded for many different reasons. And well, what ends up happening is that one of the crew comes back years later to try and get her to come and help him with his new company, where he's working for this guy to try and get data on tornadoes to help save lives. And so she reluctantly agrees to go, and what happens? They go to a big tornado week where they meet a bunch of other wranglers, especially this really kind of crazy cowboy-style crew. Is very much so shooting from the hip, having fun, doing a whole big kind of spectacle of it. And their team is a lot different from the Wrangler team, where theirs is a lot more suited up. They're very corpo. They're here to go ahead and study tornadoes. The other one's just here to have some fun. And it's really cool, that structure. I really like that a lot. But the meat that it's given is very eh. And let's start with her friend. Her friend, played by Anthony Ramos, which I really loved him in Hamilton. Don't really like him personally, as I don't know him, but don't really like the things I've seen him do, I'm afraid. But I try to separate that. We're watching a movie, who cares? Tom Cruise is a Scientologist, but damn if he isn't great in Eyes Wide Shut. I don't know what I'm talking about. Let's get back to this. So anyways, Anthony Ramos in the film, not only is the character very much so bare bones, there's really not much to work with there to begin with, he's just not very good in it. He just gives a very basic kind of schlocky performance where he just kind of, I wouldn't say mumbles his way through, but everything he says just has no emotion. He's just speaking. I never see him really exude any emotion whatsoever. I think the most I've ever seen him do was act a little sleepy. And that's pretty much it. So, like I said, while his performance isn't great, the character also just isn't written very well, where he's just kind of there to serve as a bridge. You see, at some point, they give him somewhat of a conflict where he is romantically interested in the main character, but that never ever comes up, not in the beginning, not in the end. It comes up in one moment where he's just like, I would do anything for you. And it's very much so meant to be a romantic thing, but nothing ever comes of it. So it makes me think, what if a lot of it got cut. Like, what if they made the movie and they put a lot more into the story, but then they decided to take it out to focus on the twisters? I don't know, but that's what it felt like. By the end of the movie, I really did feel like they cut out a lot of things just to kind of make it more about the twisters and just kind of gave the characters and stuff just kind of they're the backdrop. And again, that's fine, but it ends up leading the movie to be mediocre. You know, instead of giving it a great story with great action, they just give it great action, and that's fine. But that's why it's just kind of mediocre. So, like I said, there's weird moments with that character, and then what that character ends up leading her to is kind of like the conflict, but also not the conflict. There are two conflicts. One's like a personal conflict, and the other one's like the tornadoes, obviously, which essentially he gets her to work for this super corporal company for this tycoon guy who's going up and buying all the lands, taking advantage of people who were destroyed by twisters. And so essentially he's kind of supposed to be this big bad, and they kind of treat it like you should really be thinking about this guy sometimes. Like, for example, when she learns the truth about the guy because the Glenn Powell tells her the truth, they have this moment, like, which is such a classic, like, goofy moment in movies where it's like, you don't know who you're working for, do your research. And the next night, she's literally on her laptop, and it's it's one of the worst shots in the entire film, where she's Googling, like, tycoon guy, and then the camera shakily zooms in on the laptop, and it's so goofy. And that's pretty much it. Then you see him in person, but that's before you know he's bad. But then you never see him again. He never comes up again. Like, after everything's all said and done, and like the tornadoes are you know, everything's going on with the tornadoes, you never hear about him. They never have to go and try and stop him, you know, which I guess theoretically what they do is kind of stopping it. I get it. Like I said, it's not that the story doesn't so much so work. It's just so much so that it's basic, and it really doesn't do anything with the elements it's throwing in there. Like I said, there's no romance. And then the big bad tycoon guy, you never see him. You talk about him at most in the film. He maybe comes up a total of 5 minutes, and that's not even remotely an exaggeration. That may be, like I said, at most. That's me being generous with his film time. And so that part's just kind of strange. It makes you wonder kind of why they put it there. And like I said, I think it's just to kind of give like a basic background to throw a bunch of twisters in front of. I'm sorry, real quick. I also wanted to say, I don't know what their business is. I'm still confused as to what that tycoon's business was in terms of like, why is he having people study tornadoes? What good does that do him? He just shows up whenever the tornadoes are there, and then he just buys the land. Like, is he trying to figure out like how to predict where they're gonna be, which I'm pretty sure already is what meteorologists do? Is he trying to figure out how to create more tornadoes? I don't know what their business is. I don't know why he's paying these tornado guys to get data on tornadoes. Maybe I missed it. Maybe I'm stupid. I don't know. But I don't get it. I don't get what his business is. Can someone please explain to me what? Then there's the main characters, which are like the most like just average people. Like they like the main girl is pretty much just a Mary Sue to a certain degree, which again, I don't mean to sound weird or anything, but she's just special. You know, she's just built different, literally. And it's not a bad thing, you know, that's fine. Like, there are a lot of movies that have main characters that are just built different. And that's cool. That's fine. I really don't care about that. The other main guy is also very cool. He's very much so just kind of this like relative, like he's just a cool guy. And he goes around, he's a crazy little country boy doing crazy little country boy things. And that's all there is to him, really. They don't really talk about much of their kind of background. Like, she's had traumatic events happen to her. It really doesn't have any weight on who she is as a person for the most part. Like, it doesn't affect her personality. It's just some moment she thinks about it, and then she's sad about it. And yeah. So there's just kind of these basic structures laid out, but there's nothing that really goes much deeper than that. At one point, there's literally a conflict where the most they could think of to make the conflict was that she had a friend, and the friend was like, oh, I want to go and help her, and I want to help people. And they literally had one company man be like, I don't care about the people. Like, the most like blatantly like evil thing you've ever seen. Like, it's just so goofily evil. Like, it's not like he has some kind of complex reason. He's just like, I don't care about humanity. And that's pretty much all that was. And it's so goofy. The story is so basic, it hurts. It really is. It kind of reminded me of like the Hannah Montana movie, but even the Hannah Montana movie has more to it, I think. It's just a very basic, very non-offensive story that is not very interesting. It is only there to serve as a really fun tornado movie. And so yeah, ultimately the character is very basic. If they go on further adventures that have more fun stuff, maybe I'd watch the movie with that. I would like to see them fleshed out more, and if they decide to continue making more movies, who knows? I don't know if they will, honestly. I don't know how that would go, but maybe they do. The comedy aspect of the movie is hit or miss. Ultimately, again, I went into it, I expected more, but I accepted where I was after about the first 15 minutes. I was like, okay, I understand what kind of movie this is. And so the comedy afterwards is just kind of like, when it hits, great. But there are a lot of moments where things get lost for one reason or another. Like either the joke is said too quietly or the joke just isn't good and it just falls to the wayside. But essentially, it's a very non-offensive movie. It's a decent movie if you have a family, you want to show your kids just a fun little goofy movie, go for it. I wouldn't spend money on the movie personally, like I said. I think that it's a very basic, good time, but there are a lot of actual, great adventure movies that are actually really fun with great stories, that you could go watch instead. But ultimately, if you want to see just a fun, basic movie, this is the one for you. And that's pretty much all I have to say. Like I said, decent movie, nothing great, nothing horrible, right there in the middle. I honestly probably give this movie probably a 500 out of 1,000, because it really is just the most basic middle of the road movie ever, where if someone puts it on and I'm there laying down on the couch on my phone, I can envision myself looking up every now and then just to kind of see the twister moments, but then I can see myself going right back to the phone every time the twisters are gone. So that's where I'm leaving it at. What do you think? Let me know if you go and see it. I want to hear what your thoughts are, actually. I do wonder, because it has really good ratings. So maybe I'm just goofy. Maybe I just totally missed how great the story was the entire time, and I'm just a fool. Maybe I am. Either way, this has been Kino. My name is Kino. Thank you for coming out today. I know the setup is a little bit different. We're in Castle Kino today, and the audio is a little bit worse, but it was still fun. I had a good time, and I hope you did too. And, I'll just catch you in the next one.